Good evening. You do have members of Homeland Security. You have myself, Kevin Coons.
Awesome. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank
Good.
you.
No problem.
Antonio, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Good to be here.
Okay, so then since there's the two agenda items, I think we should get started. So we're recording now. Okay, I want to welcome everyone to Community Board 2's Economic and Municipal Services Committee meeting. My name is Maria Torres. I am the chairperson of this committee. I do ask that everybody stay muted. If you're on the phone, please stay muted. And we can see you on the screen on the lower bottom half under reactions. There's a little thing you can click on to raise your hand when you have questions after presentations are made. Myself or Ralphie will see your hands raised, and we will call on you for that. So this way we don't have people talking over each other. And again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out to come to this meeting. I know we all have busy lives, and you know, to keep everybody in this community informed is always very important. And so I appreciate everyone's time here. And also in that respect, I think we should also respect everyone's time here for presenters and people in the chats alike. So this way we all know we can accomplish things screaming over each other. Okay, and then I think Ralphie, for people on the phone, they can mute themselves, and then
Yes.
what is it that we have to?
What? *6 is to mute and unmute yourself. *6. *9 is to raise your hand, and then to lower.
Okay, so
your
*9 is to
yes.
raise the hand. Okay.
Yes.
So
And
people on the phone can do
I'm
that.
sorry, but I do see Hazina here, and if it's Hazina, I think Aladian. That's who I was.
Hi, Aladdin. Hi, how are you?
I'm sorry. Yes, you and I were emailing each other regarding the Homeland Security and the presentation. So I apologize by saying that I did not see anyone from Homeland. I must have overlooked you here or something. So thank you.
No worries at all.
Thank you.
Okay, so I believe that is our first agenda item. So I'm just trying to, I got to take my notes at the same time too, so pardon me. Okay, so who will be giving it? Is it Kevin or Hazina or somebody else?
So I think Kevin or Antonio can start off the presentation, and we also have our victim assistance specialist who will join us after to speak about our victim assistance program. So guys, feel free.
Okay, so the floor is yours, and go ahead.
So my name is Kevin Coons. I'm a special agent with Homeland Security Investigations. So I guess I'll start off giving a little bit of an overview about HSI, and then I'll pass it over to Antonio to kind of go into a little more detail about what we actually do in the Bronx. Because a large majority of Antonio and I's cases are actually involving minors from the Bronx. So I think it's especially pertinent that we talk about it, and Antonio will go into further detail. But Homeland Security Investigations is the investigative arm of the Department of Homeland Security. We cover one of the broadest investigative authorities throughout the federal government. So if it hits the internet, it affects interstate commerce, it crosses a border, it touches it touches any sort of foreign country, that is something that we are involved in and we investigate. So by the nature of the internet and how that affects everything else that we do, we have a wide breadth to investigate various crimes. The HSI New York office is approximately 700 agents with several hundred task force officers comprised of NYPD, Nassau County, Suffolk County, Port Authority, various other agencies, so that we can create a holistic approach. Our task force officers also include different victim assistance specialists, and customs, various different agencies, which give us a ability to interact with people on a level that just us alone as agents would not be able to do. In particular, Antonio, Hazina, and I are members of the Human Trafficking Task Force 2 group. We investigate various human trafficking crimes in New York City. Over the past year, we've rescued approximately 15 individuals that have been human trafficked, and we've had numerous successful prosecutions of individuals involved in human trafficking. Now, several of our investigations have taken place in the Bronx. And to kind of go into a little bit further about some of our investigations and how the Bronx factors in, I'm going to pass it over to Antonio.
So good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here. So like Kevin mentioned, we do both international cases as well as domestic cases. A lot of people don't know that. And our focus when pursuing human trafficking investigations is a victim-centered, victim-focused approach. And what that means is we go into these investigations really focus on the needs of the victim, what the person has experienced. We have a bunch of victim assistance specialists whose sole mission is to make sure that the victims are cared for. What we have identified in our task force in the past 2 years, year and a half, is a major influx of trafficking of children in New York City, particularly in the Bronx. And there's a lot of socioeconomic reasons for that, but we definitely think COVID is a big factor. And a lot of the children who we are finding being trafficked are in the foster care system. A lot of kids who are living at home or in foster care facilities that were offered a lot of services at some point. Now a lot of those services have been shut down due to COVID restrictions. A lot of children living in abusive homes used to find schools as a venue to escape. When schools closed down, the children are now stuck in the household, and which was traumatic in and of itself, and would escape, find themselves on the street, and there being a ton of pimps and traffickers waiting to provide them housing, provide them support, and provide them with some type of monetary gain through commercial sex. A lot of our victims are between the ages of 13 years old to 17 years old. They're either sold online, they're either sold on the corners, oftentimes they're sold through social media, and between friends. It's not unheard of that these children go missing for months at a time, and go and are exchanged from pimp to pimp to pimp. One of the things that we bring to the table, and like Kevin mentioned, we have local partners like the NYPD, is that the federal government takes the trafficking of children extremely seriously. And with that comes very high amounts of prison time. We do prosecute through Southern District of New York, because that is the jurisdiction where the Bronx falls into. And so we're tirelessly kind of going after these traffickers, but it is extremely difficult to do it without the support of the community. Kevin can tell you that a lot of our leads come from individuals and residences of the Bronx, people who keep their eyes open for this, friends and family. I would say family is huge. A lot of kids in the foster care system still have family who care about them, and oftentimes the children will communicate with them, providing us with valuable information to locate these children, to rescue them, and to then prosecute the traffickers. Kevin, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I really to kind of piggyback off of some of what Antonio said. Really, one of the things that Antonio and I have really tried to do is Um, a lot of the issues involving our minor victims are not going to be solved overnight. So, and unfortunately, a lot of our minor victims have had negative interactions with law enforcement before. So one of the things that we've really tried to do is we've really tried to create a stable, encouraging environment for them to be able to contact us and to be able to hold open and frank discussions with us, and have someone through our victim assistance specialists, social workers we bring in, and try and bring some stability to these children's lives. Like Antonio said, COVID has been a disrupting factor and has really started a trend of pushing some of these minors to the street, which has then led to their trafficking. So we've really tried to bring stability, and being the federal government, we have some investigative resources that we can access that NYPD doesn't have the ability to access as frequently or as quickly. So we're able to respond to these incidents involving children at a significant faster rate than say the NYPD in many circumstances. So really what we bring to the table is we bring some technical expertise, and we bring an enthusiasm and an ability to provide some stability for these children. That's all I have. Hazina, if you want to continue on.
Thank you so much, Kevin. We have Juanita. Juanita, do you have 2 minutes to talk about the Victim Assistance Program?
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Thank you. So my name is Juanita Harris, and I'm one of the 2 victim assistance specialists that is assigned to New York. I cover the areas of Hudson Valley, Long Island, and JFK. My counterpart, Tanaz Dubash, covers the 5 boroughs, but we work closely together. I'm a Spanish speaker, so when the agents have victims that speak Spanish, I step in to assist. Part of what we do is really to connect victims with services. And so I know the agents here were talking about minors, and if they're in custody of ACS, there's not a whole lot that we can do other than maintain communication. But we do have some, at least I have some in Long Island that have aged out or have reached the age where they can leave, but because they become pregnant, they're staying in. And so I'm still maintaining contact with them because we still have an ongoing case. So as far as what we do for, say, adult victims, and we have quite a few adult victims, we do connect them to resources, housing, medical, therapy, counseling. We have victims that are that are immigrants, undocumented immigrants, and so we provide them with what's called continued presence. It is worth mentioning that we do not deport victims. I think that the misconception, because we fall under the ICE umbrella, but there are 2 components to ICE. We have HSI, Homeland Security Investigation, and ERO. ERO is the enforcement removal organizations that removes people from the country, but they don't have anything to do with us. Like I said, in fact, when we have victims that are undocumented, we provide them with continued presence that allows them to stay here for 2 years at a time. It can be renewed while their attorneys are trying to get them a T visa, applying for a T visa, trafficking visa. And that continued presence is huge because it allows them to stay here for 2 years at a time. We can renew it. It also allows them to get authorization to legally work in the country, and to get a social security card, which is pertinent in order for them to be able to get a job. So that is a huge factor that we provide to victims that are undocumented in the United States. And that misconception that we deport victims, it's a myth. Part of the victim assistance program, we have a forensic interviewer that falls under that category too. And forensic interviewers are the ones that are interviewing these children. They are specialized in talking to children in a way that minimizes trauma, but can elicit the most information. And so it's immensely important to have these specialized individuals to talk to children when they have been experiencing some sort of trafficking. So a lot of what we do is deal with victims of human trafficking, labor trafficking. This summer, I went to JFK to intercept flights that were coming from countries and going to countries where they do cutting, female genital mutilation. I went there to intercept some flights because they're little 5-year-old girls. Their parents are taking them to these countries. So we also deal with victims who may be of financial fraud. So any crime where there is a victim and HSI is the leading investigating agency, there's a victim assistance specialist that's going to assist those victims. Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, well, thank you all for having us tonight. It was a pleasure, and hopefully we'll find ways that we can connect and work together to assist the victims here in New York City.
And, just as a closing
There is a
thought,
question
a
from
lot of
Miguel. Oh,
just as
I'm
a
sorry, Antonio, you had something, and then Miguel Calderon did raise his hand.
or just as a closing thought, a lot of individuals, ask us at the end, like, how can we be more involved? And I would say, the funding of some of the shelters for these children, especially for the pregnant youths of the Bronx, is always a challenge. And so I definitely encourage you all to speak to your local congressional district leaders and advocate for the additional funding for these children who have been victimized, who are at risk. I like to, unfortunately, there was one time a victim once told me a story, and it was not really a story. I make it a story, but she had told me that she was a 15-year-old child who had a 4-month-old baby, and she was living in a shelter. And she said it is easier to get pimped on the streets of the Bronx than it is getting 6 diapers from the city of New York. So these children are always looking for a way out. They need your help. And so I definitely encourage you all to take a stand and fight for these children who have largely been forgotten by our communities. So.
Okay, Miguel.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for your presentation. It's a serious topic, and I understand that human trafficking in most cases, in some cases, operates in the shadows. My question is there any advice or guidance you can give us that'll make it possible for us to be aware of the possibilities? Is there, and I know it might be a foolish question, so I apologize in advance, but this is really interesting, especially since the statement was made that a large number of this human trafficking is happening in the Bronx. This is very concerning. So is there any advice or anything that you could suggest that could make us, or at least teach us how to be aware of it and notice it? It's a foolish question. I apologize.
No, it's a great question. It's a loaded question, and the answer is lengthy, right? I would say, I think if you're interested, maybe Hasina, we can speak offline to provide some sort of training in identifying victims of human trafficking.
Absolutely.
Human trafficking has changed over the years, and the pimps and the traffickers have become very, very, very good at their craft. Oftentimes, there is a significant amount of psychological control and coercive control, which, as you can imagine, if you are a 14-year-old child who has had a significant amount of abuse throughout your life, having a 25, 30, 40-year-old man show interest in you provides you a lot of stability, a perception of safety, and to the outside, it just looks like a regular friendship. So it's a very complicated crime. There are definitely signs of it that, again, it would probably require some time to explain and discuss. So I definitely would say, talk with Hasina offline to see if we can do something in regards to a training.
Absolutely, and then one more question, because I know we're on a schedule. The training that you just mentioned, would that be something that, for example, if I invited community residents to come to my location, would that be something that would be done? That type of training or workshops would be able to inform the community?
Absolutely. I believe Hasina shared her contact information. So
Yes.
I think the more the merrier. And like I said before, this is a challenge that not only law enforcement can tackle on its own. Like, we require the community to stand up and to support victims of human trafficking, whether they're children or adults, because it is incredibly difficult to solve this problem without the community and the residents being involved.
Thank you very much, and thank you to your team for the work that you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you for having
Thank you for having us.
Any other questions? Okay.
I don't see no one
I
with
guess,
their hand raised, so I don't know
yeah, I
if
don't see
anyone else
anybody.
has any questions, but I want to just make a comment. But no,
Yeah, go ahead, Mel.
I'm fine. I'm fine. Go ahead, Maria. Thank you.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to acknowledge that you know, we're dealing with like Miguel said, this is an issue that remains in the shadows. And Hunts Point is a neighborhood, as the Chairman Crespo was on, we've known, you know, notoriously and infamously for prostitution, you know, so there must be a lot of human trafficking one way or another coming through our neighborhood. And I just want to acknowledge that we have a federal agency here meeting directly with the, you know, local level of government, bringing awareness to us. So I want to thank them for, you know, coming on, because it may seem like something other neighborhoods might not experience, or they might not think that they experience human trafficking. But, you know, this is something that a lot of us have seen on a day-to-day basis, one way or another. And maybe just never put the, you know, the pin directly on and identify it as human trafficking instead of just prostitution. So I think it's something that we can just acknowledge, you know, moving forward, and be more aware about it. So I just wanted to thank him for that.
No, and definitely, I know you're on a schedule, and just to explain to you the scope of kind of the law enforcement setup. There's only really three in New York City. There's only three groups or three units of human trafficking investigators. There is us, the Homeland Security Task Force. There's the FBI, Human Trafficking Task Force, and then you have the NYPD Human Trafficking Unit. That's it. It's the three of us. So, one thing that I think we all need is more personnel, and the need to expand resources to tackle these issues come directly from the ground up. So, if I think the first step in trying to tackle this issue is awareness, and I'm glad we could be here and kind of help you understand like the scope of the problem.
Yes. Thank you so much for this. And I mean, this is something that's always, it's in the news. It's out there. And again, yeah, as Ralph said, this is a community where we've seen, the ravages of prostitution and in that sense, in some senses, but it's really gone, high tech and underground, and it's not as prevalent as we may have been used to seeing it in the past here. But I guess it's always there, and it's an unfortunate thing. And I guess there's a lot of other questions and things we could talk about. For instance, I guess in terms of the people who are perpetrating, the buying and the selling, and how that goes in terms of convictions, or capturing them, or capturing the young women, getting the young women away from them when these people might know things about their families and things of that nature that get them involved in that to begin with is always a very scary thing, and it's just how easily it can happen to some young people. And so thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us, and I guess we have your information. I guess Ralph and Cynthia can make that available to people and for further contact, or maybe for some offline conversations. But again, thank you for the work that you do, and for this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hope to talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay. So next up on our agenda is Fernando and EDC. I'm trying to see who else might be a part of that. So New York City EDC representatives are seeking a letter of no objection on 2 expansion. That word is missing, of tenant spaces within the Hunts Point food distribution center. Food Direct and Fancy Foods are expanding their facilities and making renovations. So you guys are going to make a presentation, and then you want us to do a letter of no objection, right?
Yeah, it's more like an acknowledgement. But for a city agency, it's a letter of no objection. For a private company, it's a letter of support. So it'll fall under that category.
All right. So Fernando and your team, I think you're muted, but go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon or good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. And if you hear funny sounds, it's not me, I promise. It's my dog. Thank you all for having us this evening on such short notice. As mentioned, we will present on 2 projects. One is Fancy Foods and the other is Food Direct, that are looking to expand part of their operations in the Hunts Point Food Distribution Center. So I will pass it on to the project team who is with us this evening, and they will follow through with the presentations. And just to reiterate, that is correct. We're not necessarily asking for a letter of support. It's more of notification. It can be a letter or it can be an email saying that the community board did receive this presentation. Thank you. And I will pass it along, I believe, Luis, who is with us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. I also have Nandini. She is the design principal of the firm.
Yeah.
We presented something similar last year or the year before, and we went through the same process. And we just wanted to explain that there's 2 clients that we're going to review today. One is Fancy Food, and the other one is Food Direct. And Nandini, do you want to
Yeah,
share the
I can.
presentation?
Luis, if you can present.
Sure. Okay. So the first slide, obviously, this is a presentation, which is for Fancy Food. The next slide, please. So everyone knows where the project is. It's in Hunts Point Co-op Market. They are currently having a need to expand, and they've come to us because we did Fancy Food expansion earlier, which was approved. We want to share the presentation with you to show you how they want to expand, and the reason obviously is because they need more storage of more freezer space, pretty much, for their goods. So there's a big demand in having this stored, and that's why we're presenting today. The next slide. So within the market, there's building A, building B, and building C. We're looking right now at building A. It's loading dock B, and the red area shows the proposed addition, which is adjacent to the existing building. There will be some spaces that will be eliminated due to this expansion, but it should not affect the traffic, the vehicular traffic that goes in and out of the market. The next slide. Thank you. So this represents some of the photos of the area. We're looking at picture number 1 with the triangle on the left indicates where on the side, this is what it looks like, and where the truck is, that's where we're going to expand to the left. On the bottom site looking north, this is exactly where the expansion will happen, and it'll go from ground all the way up to the coping of the building, which is on top of the building. So it's going to sort of be aligned with that coping. And the other picture is showing, let me see, looking dock parking B shows pretty much in the middle, looking towards towards where the expansion will be. So that's this slide. The next slide, this is for site context. So the next slide is showing the existing is on top, showing how the market is currently in section. The middle part is the proposed site section, which shows in dashed lines in red how we're going to expand. And the proposed elevation, how it's going to look, is shown by these vertical insulated metal panels that are shown that says proposed fancy food addition. Next slide. This is an aerial view showing building A, loading dock B, and it's pointing to the addition where we're going to add to the existing building. Next slide. This is a zoomed in view of the first floor plan. The picture on the left shows where the building will be added. And the picture on the right shows the freezer location with the pallets laid out and how it's going to be connected to the existing structure. Next slide. This is showing on the roof how it's basically going to be right adjacent to the existing building. It'll be like 1 inch away. And I just also need to mention that it'll be 49, it'll be actually 53 from the loading dock to the face of the proposed addition, and it'll be 98'6" in length. Total square footage is approximately 5,000 square feet that they want to add. Next slide. This on the top, you see the new addition that's consistent with the plan. It's 98'6" long, and it's going to have insulated metal panels. We are doing currently we're doing a design for the market for the exterior of the building for the all of 3 buildings. So we are showing what we're proposing. That's a future work. And so the idea is to integrate what's being proposed with the integration of the future work that's going to be implemented. And the reason they want to implement the new panels on the in later date is because the facade is failing and there's some work that needs to happen, and the building is old and it's a little dangerous for the people that are coming in and out of the market. So there's a plan with EDC to revamp the exterior of all the buildings here. So this is keeping in sync with the same kind of concept in terms of insulated metal panels and storage facility. At the bottom, you see the side view, which has a new addition. It's 49 feet. That's the area where Fancy Food is going to extend into the roadway there. Next slide. This is a section of through the new space that we're building. The building will be set with some footings, a new slab. It's going to match the existing elevation of the loading dock. It'll facilitate Fancy Food to bring their goods in and out and be able to store on racks 5 foot high their merchandise and be able to also cool it since it'll be a freezer. So the envelope itself will be all insulated panels and will extend to line up with the existing parapet wall. Next slide. These are some renderings which indicate how Fancy Food will look with the expansion. We'll talk a little bit later about Food Direct, but Food Direct has the same intention, which is to extend and provide a new addition to their warehouse. So these images represent how the addition of the two companies want to expand their business. See if I left out anything. No, I think that's it. Next slide. Again, this is a close-up from the side with the arrow on the bottom. You see where it's pointing. The rendering is showing sort of the box that's being created. There'll be a refrigerated space, and it'll have bollards at the corners so that trucks don't hit the building. And that's this slide. Next slide. Another view of Fancy Food, how it's going to look with the integration of the future facade replacement program that's due to happen in the future. So we're trying to make the facility look consistent and also well insulated and safe for the people that operate within this facility. Next slide. And this is the final slide, which is the materials that we're using. We have the insulated panel, which is on the left. It's going to be a 6-inch metal panel in order to be able to keep the temperature down in this location. It'll be polar white, and then these are the bollards that will be used on the corners or wherever there's a need for them. And the roof will be also waterproofing membrane, and it'll have this product that we have here shown as a membrane for this roof. I think I went through the last slide.
That's it.
I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Did you want to do the Food Direct as well? Because it's very similar.
Yeah, we can.
Hold it. I see Bobby. You have your hand raised, or do you want to wait until after the Food Direct?
I'll wait till after Food Direct then.
Okay, so just go on to the next one, and then we'll do all our questions at the end.
Okay, Fernando, if you can help us with the other presentation.
Yes. I know there was some issues. Ralph, were you able to get the Food Direct presentation?
I can share if you're having issues.
Fernando, I think this one might work. So we was just going back and forth here because the attachment wasn't opening up, but I think this one's going to open right now.
Okay.
Perfect. There it is.
Yay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this presentation involves Food Direct. Food Direct pretty much owns a lot of half of building B, and they're quickly expanding and also would like to increase their storage facility, and in a similar way expand in the same way is basically where the loading dock is. Next slide. So it's pretty much an expansion that they want to do, where they want to expand a new facility, a new space, a new freezer, and also they want to expand vertically within the courtyard. And we'll show you how it's done. Next slide. This has a little bit more scope than Fancy. If you see Fancy on the other side of loading dock B, it's a little square that's white. This other proposed exterior or new addition is in red, horizontal red, and the vertical expansion will happen also in red, which is it's a vertical square, and the existing Food Direct space is shown by the dash line. So they own a lot of this half of building B, and they want to expand vertically and proposed addition. Next slide. Again, the photographs of the existing conditions. This is how the market looks. This was taken sort of late last year. This is where the Food Direct has currently their loading dock C, and also they have loading dock D, which is on the other side. But as you can see, it looks a little tired on the exterior, so we want to kind of help to enhance the market and give it a new look. Next slide. So the same slides, similar slides that we had before, is just showing how the new addition for Food Direct is shown in the yellow, and the expansion is we're removing the existing floor and adding new columns to go up, and they will not be visible from the street. Be very minimal, if you can see on the proposed site elevation. There's a vertical expansion line that you see, so you won't really see it that much. Next slide. Again, the areas in white is the new building with horizontal. The vertical one is the vertical expansion. Next slide. This on the left represents the area of work. The freezer will be the new addition, and the in yellow, and the blue freezer is the vertical expansion where they're going to provide, I believe it's Nandini, it's 3 or 4 pallet high.
3 pallet high.
3 pallet high, and the freezer will provide 5 pallets high. So they're anticipating more storage, and also to reorganize their interior because they have freezers all over the place. So they want to kind of consolidate it and put it in one place, while the coolers remain or will be renovated to accommodate the cooler space. So it's going to look a little different later on, but I think the intention is to make it more efficient as well. Next slide. Again, this is the second floor plan showing the area of expansion, the roof plan showing where the addition and the expansion is. Next slide. Very similar to Fancy, we're putting vertical panels, insulated panels. The length of the building is longer than Fancy. It's 142 feet. And it's same width, which will be 53 feet from the edge of the loading dock to the end of the building. This number has been approved by Hunts Point Co-op Market to not exceed the 53 feet. So that's what we're keeping. And so we're going through this presentation for the various approvals. Next slide. So as well, so this is the these are the diagrams showing the yellow is the addition, the blue is the expansion that's vertically. New columns will be added, very similar to what Fancy Food had in the previous approval. So that's been completed to date and operating at the current moment. Next slide. So because the Fancy Food, because Food Direct owns half of this building, basically what you see here, they would like to make a connection between the offices, which are the second floor offices on both wings. So that's why we have an enclosed walkway, which will be covered and conditioned so that people can go from one side to the other. Right now, they just walk across the roof and then go into a door. So it's not protected, and it's not an efficient way to access. So they want to clean that up and organize that. Next slide. Again, this is an image of showing, it's very similar to the previous image that we saw earlier, which is the showing both editions of Fancy and Food Direct, looking down through the middle, showing the expansions left and right of each of the buildings that we saw that are existing. again, the same type of finish, the metal panels, insulated panels. Next slide. This is a view from loading dock C, showing how the building will look in relationship to the existing building. Next slide. Again, this particular view is a section through the building showing the existing offices on the second floor, the existing freezer that they want to expand in blue, and the yellow represents the new addition. Same thing, it'll have foundations, it'll have columns, steel structure, and it'll be lined with the insulated panels. Next slide. So it's identical. This looks familiar. Same thing, insulated panels with bollards and an insulated roof, waterproof roof. I think that's the last slide.
Yep, it is.
Thank you for listening, and happy to take any questions.
Okay, I saw Bobby had his hand up first, and then Cliff.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. But this is for Fernando. I'd like to know how many jobs are going to be created on these two expansions. And furthermore, which is more important to me, is why isn't Fancy Food or Food Direct here to make the presentation for themselves instead of having you guys do it?
Yes, thank you for the questions. In terms of how many new jobs it will create, I'm not 100% sure, being that it's a relatively, not a large expansion. I don't know if, if that would mean more jobs per se, permanent jobs within these two facilities, or just means better operations for their facilities. But I do know that I know Food Direct, for example, I believe that they have around 200 employees. So I'm not sure if the expansion will, because it's not that much space, right? I don't know if it's like that they'll be able to add, 5 more new employees, or if it's just, to facilitate their current operations. So I could get back that exact number though, and verify that information for you. And
Well, before you go any further, I also like to know the temporary jobs, since there's going to be construction being done here.
yeah, so I can for sure get the temporary jobs in terms of construction work and that, and I can share that with the board. And in terms of the two tenants not being able to make it, this, we got on the agenda relatively short notice. So I did reach out to them. Unfortunately, they were not able to make it today, but if this goes to the general board, or if you want us to come back in February, we can definitely have them, make sure that they can accommodate that. It was a very last minute call, to be honest. We don't need to notify PDC that community board has received this until February 14th. But I wanted to make sure that I got this to the board sooner rather than later. I didn't want to, come to the board February 10 and it was and then say I need this letter in 3 days, right? I'm trying to be a little bit more sensitive, and I know that's something that you mentioned previously in last month's meeting, is not coming in last minute. So I wanted to give this some time. It's still a month before we need any formal notification, and give the community board also time to, if there's any questions, come back with responses and so forth. But to answer your question, because we got on the agenda short notice, the two tenants were not able to make it tonight.
So all I can say is that I would hope that coming any more requests for letters of no objections or letters of support by EDC, I would hope that you guys will try your best to make whoever it is that's requesting it available. Because then this way, we don't have to deal with this at a later date. We could deal with it, as soon as possible. And it's a shame because I've been chairman now for a little over 3 years now, and I've never seen fancy food or fresh direct in the community. I see them making deliveries, so I can't say that. I see them making deliveries, but my concerns are that we would like to see more walk to work jobs where people from this community can walk to work and have a job. And we're not, I'm not seeing that in this project, the previous project, or the one from last month. So understand that in your formulas, somewhere along the way, Community Board 2 needs to be looked at. There's a lot of employment in this area that can be shared. We have Michael Calderon that's on. He has a work center. He can do your outreach. We have several others in the community. And so I would, just bring that to your attention and hope that by the time we come to our next board meeting, our full board meeting, you will have them available. But after that, anybody should be available to answer any questions. Thank you.
For sure. And Bobby, just in response to that, one quick point that I do want to mention is, we've heard this before. I know I've sure heard it before about the, walking to work availability for residents of CB2. And one of the things that is currently in the works that we're hoping to do in the spring, in which I'll be in contact with Community Board within the next coming weeks is we have spoken with Councilmember Salamanca, and EDC and Councilmember Salamanca are looking to doing 2 job fairs, one on the Longwood side and one on the Hunts Point side, with kind of all of the market tenants. We want to do and kind of make this like an annual thing. So we are that is something that we're currently planning, and so we will be reaching out to CB2 on. But we do want to have kind of community-wide jobs fair, so that, as you said, so that more of the Hunts Point residents and Longwood residents can have access to these jobs. So that is something that hopefully will be coming very soon.
Thank you very much.
Okay, there's Clifford, and now I see Miguel has his hand up. So Clifford, and then Miguel.
Hi, yeah, this is a quick question. Does your company invest in any type of solar panel technology on your rooftops?
Anthony, do you want to?
We don't. I don't think there are solar panels. The Hunts Point.
Right now, there's no solar panels on any of the buildings. Obviously, it's a good thing to do. The thing about this particular facility that has freezers and coolers, it's difficult to capture the energy efficiently for this kind of service, because there's a main kind of plant in the facility that supplies cooling of the building. So it's you could capture some solar power by using these panels and distributing it for local lighting, but not to operate the facility. So it's possible, but at the moment there's no plans for that.
I appreciate it.
I can just give jump in quickly.
Yeah.
Part of what EDC is looking to do is, the same presenter that we had last month, PowerFlex, who's working on the Crasdale solar installations. We are in conversations with them and EDC about looking of, because this is ultimately an EDC asset, right? That the produce market, that the building, the land, right? So what we are looking to do is expanding solar and more energy efficiency across the market. So that hopefully will be something that we start to see more of in the future. So I will say that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess before Miguel, my spiel is always to make sure that you guys are going as green as you possibly can with this. You're in the flood zone, ensuring that you guys are building and keeping that in mind with the new additions. And it'd be great to see green roofs and solar panels and all that type of stuff going on over there. But I know energy and the Hunts Point Food Distribution Center have lots of issues. And so,
Hopefully next month, we will be coming to the community board with an update around Hunts Point, the food market, and energy. So hopefully soon we'll be able to give you more and better updates around all of the, everything that has to do with solar panels and energy within the market. So that is something definitely that we, are constantly thinking and in conversations about, and we hope to present you guys with some updates next month.
Okay. Miguel.
Yes. First off, I want to fully and wholly agree with Mr. Crespo's statement. I too believe that if a company is asking of something, that they do their best to be present so they can make the request. And I understand that this was short notice, so that's completely understandable. I also have to agree with Mr. Crespo about the possibility of people in this community, who are consistently looking for work, and how good it would be to be able to walk to work as opposed to jumping on public transportation. So with that being said, would it be possible for the positions that might occur, that information be given to community board number 2? So then this way it could be shared with other organizations, including myself, who have a bank of clients and resumes who are looking for work. Also, Councilman Salamanca is an amazing council member who has supported and backed this community way before he was a councilman. And so the job fairs that he's done have also been beneficial to the community. But I will ask you this, and again, we're not a big location, but I want you to know that at Project Hope, we've had the following businesses who have come to my location and conducted on-site interviews: Baldur's, the Workforce One, Mercy Drive, D&J Ambulance. We've had several companies who are looking to hire people, and I said, well, listen, if I can, if you give me the job postings or what it is that you're looking for, we can recruit. We can have people come to the office. I'll give you space. I'll give you a computer. I'll give you a desk, and you can conduct your interviews on site. Why is that important? Well, it tells the people in the community that this business that's going to be in this community is extending themselves, and they're coming out to the community itself. The job fairs, like I said, I fully support them. I understand them, and they're vital. But I can't tell you the number of people that come to Project Hope. And again, if we had a day where, okay, you know what, fancy food director is going to be coming to Project Hope to conduct interviews from, it doesn't have to be all day, from 11 to 1, whatever. It means a lot to the people in the community that businesses are coming to local storefront community-based organizations to try to recruit. It's just a suggestion.
No, thank you. I completely, I hear that and I agree. And I will definitely communicate that to both of these tenants. And as you said, I think the job fair, does so much. I think there's, a lot more that can be done prior to and after a job fair, such as, like you said, having the tenants also come to these spaces to host those interviews and so forth. So I will communicate that to them. And hopefully the jobs fair can also help to build those relationships, right? Not just with those looking for jobs, with employers, but with the employers and other organizations in the community that can facilitate those interactions. So
absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay, Fernando, I also just had another quick question. I'm not sure, and I apologize if I missed it in the presentation, but what's the timeline for this construction? How long do you think it'll take? When will it start? So forth.
Luis, do you want to answer that? Do you have the exact dates?
So we're just in the beginning stages. I believe that our work will be maybe another 3 months to get this job kind of filed with the buildings department, 2-3 months. Looking to start probably in 4 months. We should have construction finished by end of the year. That's what our goal is, or at the beginning of next year. So I think that's our goal.
Okay, so hopefully starting around May of 2022 and completion by 1/23, right?
Probably around,
Okay.
that's an estimated, yeah. Because right now we're having a material shortage, so we have to factor that in terms of available materials and when we can get it. Prices have gone up as well, so it's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see any other questions, so I guess I need committee member to make a motion if we're going to send a letter of no objection. And who are we sending this letter to? DDC or?
You can, yeah, it would be sent to EDC, and then we would forward it to we would have it on file for the PDC, which is the Public Design Council or Committee, I forget.
Commission, yeah.
Commission, yeah, sorry. Public Design Commission
Yeah.
for when they requested it.
And that's scheduled for February 14th.
Yeah, so it would be best to do this now because the full board will be on the 28th or something. And, you know, of this month, we're not going to have enough time in February. So I do need somebody from our committee. And I do just very quickly want to thank everybody on my committee. We got a full house tonight, except for Mr. Matteo. But everybody else, thank you for coming out. We're starting off the new year strong. So if anybody wants to make
I make a motion.
Okay, Miles, thank you. So Miles makes the motion.
I'll second the motion.
And that's Velvet?
Yeah,
All
that
right,
was Elvis.
Velvet. Okay, so with that being said, are there any, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any objections? And any abstentions? Okay, so with that, this passes. So again, we'll be meeting, the full board will be meeting in 2 weeks, the 26th of January, 6 p.m. on your Zoom network. So it'd be great if there can be a representative from the businesses to come. I mean, they don't necessarily have to present, but we would like to, you know, see them at that. And then the full board, it'll go right to the full board. Okay.
Perfect, thank you. And I will have responses to the job specific questions before then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so moving along, we have old business. Is there any old business?
Maria, from last month with UDC, did they provide us the information we wanted? I'm not sure. I didn't think I saw anything. Ralph?
Right away. Regarding the jobs that was going to be created,
Right,
the solar panels we're talking about on Crowsdale's roof,
right.
about getting the 300 it's 300 families, and they're going to prioritize the Hunts Point community board 2 first, in locating the 300 families as a 10% discount off their monthly Con Ed bill.
Okay,
But they did make it clear that if they don't get 300 families from Hunts Point or Board 2, that they're gonna have to go outside of Board 2. And
Yeah.
I reassured them they can get 300 families in one block if
Right.
they look right. So that's not gonna be an issue.
Right.
And it's 10% off their Con Ed bill. Who's not gonna want to sign up for that, you know? So good stuff. But yes, they did follow up to answer your question with all 3 questions. Right
Thank
away.
you.
We met Wednesday. By that Friday, Fernando has he provided everything back to me.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you.
Okay, so any other old business?
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who was involved with the children's coat giveaway that the Southern Boulevard bid hosts with Councilmember Salamanca and Ponce Bank.
Miles, you are broken up a little there, Miles. Can you start all over?
Oh, can you hear me? Hello?
could. You
I
actually were
could.
fine for me.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody on the call or, on community board that helped out with the children's coat giveaway that we host with Councilmember Salamanca and Ponce Bank in December. I know I haven't seen a lot of you since then due to this COVID again, but I really appreciate everybody's help on community board too. And it was another wonderful, wonderful event. And I think the kids were really, really happy. So thank you so much.
Miles, I need to ask you, are you still having the double parking and the triple parking on Southern?
Yes, we do have double parking and sometimes triple parking. I know that the businesses don't, as the bid director, want me to be too loud about that, but I have heard from the 4-1 and I believe the council member, if I can recall correctly, that it's an issue. It's been an issue lately, and as a community board 2 resident, I feel like at certain times of the day we need to really work on it because it does cause its own form of traffic, which can cause unsafe conditions when there's like ambulances and fire trucks and things that need to come down. So unofficially, yes, we are having issues with that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for telling me.
Yep.
Okay, I see Anthony has his hand up. Anthony?
Yeah, just to reiterate about the double and triple parking. Every time I take my grandmother out to shops in Southern Boulevard, it's a weird circumstance where I feel compelled to actually not take a parking while she runs into Dwayne Reed or whatnot, and I feel compelled to double park because if I park in normal, then I always get double parked, and then I have to wait for the person to come out before I can leave. So it's like a weird situation every time I'm on Southern Boulevard. Just to piggyback off the last statement.
Yes, I face the same struggle every day, and I agree with you. It's sort of a catch-22 there. So I think that the idea that I've been having about the parking is if the 4-1, who is very, very busy, can try to focus for a short period of time on certain hours of the day and see if that settles things a little more. Because I know rush hour is particularly bad, but like you said, it does have a sort of reputation here on the boulevard of like, should I actually park? Should I double park? Some people prefer to double park, which causes issues. So I hear you, and unfortunately, I can't expand the road. That's the one thing I can't do. But I'm gonna talk with the 4-1 and see what we can hopefully come up with.
Okay. Anything else, old business? Then we'll move to new business. Any new business?
Hi, it's Effie. I was just wondering if I could give an update on some stuff.
All right.
Thank you. I had provided this update on our Hunts Point digester project, so I just wanted to mention it at this meeting. We're currently wrapping up the construction procurement phase. So what has happened so far is that the contract was advertised for bids last June. Bids were received last October. A pre-award meeting was held with our engineering design group and the apparent lowest bidder, which is Skanska, this past November. The next step is for the project to be awarded to the contractor, which should happen in the next couple of months. And construction start is still anticipated for spring of 2022, so this coming spring. And that includes the mobilization on site after the contractor secures the permits and approvals. The first stage of the project will be the mobilization, which includes installing the protective barriers between the project site and the adjacent properties, such as Barretto Point Park and local streets, and to mitigate noise and dust and protect the roads and park property from construction traffic and temporary changes in stormwater drainage due to construction activities. So just an FYI, I will be updating, everybody on this as we move forward, but I just wanted to give that update. And one other thing, with these extreme weather conditions, we do have a lot of water main breaks and service line issues. We do encourage property owners to look into DEP service line protection program with AWR, American Water Resources. It's definitely something to consider. When you have a frozen service line or a broken service line, could cost $15,000-$20,000, and for a minimal fee every month, it can be covered under that. So if anybody has any questions or needs me to send the link, just feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Effie,
Yes.
This is Bobby again.
Yes, Chairman.
So-
Yes.
Question on your digest. When you and this is we're talking ahead of time, but
Correct.
can you make sure
Yes.
that whatever trucks are used in that area does not interfere with traffic and does
Right.
not prevent, does not create a situation that later on we can regret, and hopefully hopefully we can have something that's generated that's just right for the community.
Correct. And of course, with all these, with all the construction that will be happening, we obviously want to minimize impacts to the community in every aspect. I will be in touch with your office to keep you posted on what is going on, and always feel free to reach out to me as soon as you have a question or concern as well.
Yeah, Ralph will reach out to you if there's a problem, but I'm just saying, I know
Yeah.
that we're months ahead of time, but
Correct.
it's good to mention it now. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, anything else, new business? Otherwise, we're gonna turn it over to Cynthia, and she's gonna close us out with her 700 announcements.
That's right. That's right, Cynthia, we're up.
We're ready for you. So, for the fire that occurred earlier this week, 311 East 181st Street, they're doing drives a lot of places, but this is a donation drop off. But what they're asking is to please call these places before you start dropping off. The caller said that a lot of them are already crowded and they're not accepting anymore. But there's a contact information on the very bottom of it, so you can email them and see if they're still accepting. This is a application for 720 Tiffany Street, and that right following it, there's one for 980 Westchester Avenue. Both of these will be on the nyc.gov website.
The Housing Connect. The Housing Connect.
Yeah, the Housing Connect. You have to do a profile and apply there. Next. Plastic straws. You need to ask for them if you want them, because they are not going to be just giving them out anymore. They're available upon request. Protection from Housing Discrimination. The 13th, which is tomorrow, there's a link. I can provide the link. But there's if you have any questions on anything for the housing court, this would be the best place to join the Zoom and get some information. Also the same thing, but it's going to be January 20th. Department of Transportation construction notice. Eastbound and westbound between 138th and Baroda Street, the traffic pattern are going to change on the expressway, on the Bruckner Expressway. And this is what's going to be happening. It's going to be through July 1st, 2022. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Wow, I thought there was more. All right, so on that note, are there any other announcements? Okay, no other announcements? We need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Somebody from the committee?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, yeah, is that Miguel?
That was Elvis. Elvis.
That was
That was
Stelvis?
Elvis, yeah.
Okay, I didn't see.
Anthony
Stelvis
Rodriguez
makes,
second.
okay, makes motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and this meeting is adjourned at 7:17 p.m. Thank you all for your time, and see you all at the full board meeting.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Have a
Good
good
night.
evening.
All good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.